being a Muslim woman in the fitness industry is one of the most difficult things to do. It really is. Fitness is it's it's visual. People want to see, you know. Do you know how much work you need to put in when people can't see?
Of
You know,
course.
I can only tell, you know, and I have choices, I'm a Muslim of course, but there are many other women out there who wear the headscarf and they go to the gym, to a mixed gym and all of that, and they're doing quite well for themselves, in terms of business and everything. But there are sacrifices that, as a Muslim woman, for myself, on my own standards, not that what they're doing is wrong, but I mean, it depends whose opinion we're talking about, but I wouldn't do that.
Mm,
And it's a sacrifice that I have to make. And that might mean less business,
yeah,
you know, that might mean less followers. That might mean a lot of things because there's only so much that I can show. I
exactly.
mean, it wasn't even until recently that I actually even started to put myself up at all. But before I never used to at all for ages. I never. And afterwards, when the whole Corona thing started and people were covering their faces anyway, I took the opportunity. I said, you know what, I can really make do with this because
Mm,
I didn't want my fitness account to be associated with this is a Niqabi because I
yeah,
wasn't sure how long that I wanted to be me. It
yeah.
wasn't about what I wore.
Mm-hmm,
It was about what I said and what I believe is true.
mm-hmm.
And covering up and being a Muslim woman, and you can't show anyone your progress. There's only so much that you can show.
Of course.
Was a tough one, and it still is a very big struggle. But for the sake of Allah, you have to make those sacrifices.
Yeah,
That's
of
all it is.
course. Yeah, it's because obviously everything's so visual now. Because I used to follow a lot of fitness pages, and for me personally, I've always been interested in fitness. It's something that I love. But what for me puts me off is like I don't want to see people naked. Like
Yeah,
that's one
yeah,
thing. Like so, like from that's like from the other side. So I appreciate sisters who are covered and who are doing these things and like
yeah,
encouraging other sisters to do it. And
yeah,
are so many challenges because obviously you can't show physically like it's not wouldn't be like really correct Islamic to be showing your body shape and like do you know what I mean, these tight clothing to show
yeah.
that, oh, like you've gone
No,
from this size to this size or whatever. So
yeah, of course.
so much, and I didn't even, subhanallah, I didn't even think about the kind of challenges from that side. I was just thinking like, oh, it's good, like for me personally, because I don't want to see naked people. So if I
Yeah, but do you know what it is? It's I
there's
mean,
all the other
especially
ones.
for myself, I've lost a lot of weight over the years.
Mm,
I have changed my body so many times according to what my goals were,
mm-hmm,
and I wish I could show people,
mm,
not because I want to show off, but that is something that I achieved. That's a big achievement,
exactly, to
and I
encourage
know for a
people.
fact, and I think there is nothing like, look, it's like, would you? I don't know how to say this without coming across bad, but would you take fitness advice and nutrition advice from someone who's overweight and always been overweight?
Mm,
Probably not. Probably not. I mean, it doesn't mean it's right or wrong whether you do or don't, but probably you would not. But if you're taking advice from someone where you can clearly see they have changed their whole life around, they look like a whole different person. And if you were to show that to people would be more inclined to take an advice, and you'd probably get a lot more business, etc. I mean, there's a very big difference between people who have always been slim and are trainers and
mm,
people that have actually done it.
of
Because the way
course.
that the way that I work with my clients is not like how other coaches would work with their clients. For me, I do it from more of a personal point of view. Nobody ever talks about the mental side of weight loss. I
Yeah,
know it because I was there. Nobody ever talks about, things like stretch marks, for example, or, loose skin, or all this extra stuff that could possibly happen, and when you have, really experienced weight loss on a big scale, and you can't even show anyone for them to really take your word for it,
yeah.
I think it's a tough one. How do you
It's
prove it?
difficult. Yeah, subhanallah.
Do you know what I mean? It
Very
is very tough.
difficult.
It's tough.
And alhamdulillah, and do you know what? Another thing about that as well, I think personally, like, obviously everybody's different, but I think there must be an element of the nafs as well, like challenging, like a personal struggle within yourself, like, oh, like I've done this and I can't even, like, nobody can really see, like, my achievement, what I've
It's
done,
actually
because I've worked
really,
so hard.
it's actually very demotivating, to be honest. It is, it's very hard to stay motivated in what it is that you want to do when really and truly nobody's going to say it, but there's no space for women who cover up in the fitness industry. And actually, and I'll tell you, the fitness industry is a very big fitna for someone who is practicing.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
huge. Do you know how much sometimes you may need to sacrifice, especially in the UK? If you want to even become a personal trainer and you want to go in face to face, you might find yourself in a mixed gym. Now, I'm not a person who encourages mixed gyms. I don't believe in it, not for men, not for women. So imagine I was in the UK and now I'm training to be a personal trainer. Now, I need to sacrifice, my standards, my Islamic norms in order to be a personal trainer. Now you find yourself in a mixed gym. You had never done that before until you ended up, that you want to actually help people. So you're trying to help people for the sake of Allah, but sacrificing a lot of things in the deen itself on the way up. And that's something that I never wanted to do. I know for myself, I've been covered up, for as long as I can remember. And, I've been wearing abaya and everything. And I used to go out for jogs in London with my abaya on. I used to find a quiet place where nobody would be there, would be just a small park. And I used to do it. And I see women now that are taking their clothes off for the sake of fitness, to keep their health, that Allah gave them for the sake of Allah, but removing things in the process. Wallahi, I always say, don't sacrifice your deen on the way up there. Don't do that. And it is a tough one. The reason why I say it's a fitna as well is the fitness industry is a huge competition. It's a huge competition out there, in terms of business and everything. And you're competing against people who are willing to show their face online. You're competing against people who are willing to show their body online. I can't do that. Do you know what I mean? I'm limited in that sense. So, I always say, wallahi, I don't want to say high expectations because that sounds really negative, but I am happy with where I am now. Even if I only change a few people's lives, that's enough for me. That is okay for me. I'm okay to say, you know what? I only helped, let's say, 50 women reach their goal. Although it could have been 1,000, but I helped 50. And that makes me feel good. Wallahi, it could be a very small thing. And I just like to stick to that because I know that that is the sacrifice that I have to make for my deen, and that's all right.
Alhamdulillah. And we need sisters like you at the end of the day. I mean, there's a market. There's how many Muslims in the world, So I think at the end of the day, Allahumma barik, there's sisters like you who is making it easier for Muslim women because, as I said, the challenge is from both sides, but it's about knowing who your market is, I suppose. So once there's more sisters like you who have become visible to that extent that we know that, oh yeah, well, there's a Muslim woman we can go to and train and, she understands us. That will open more doors for you, inshallah, so that sisters who do want to be more practicing can see that they do have options,
Definitely.
So like you said, a lot of people, they're sacrificing their standards of Islam because they want to achieve certain fitness goals. But if they know that there's an alternative there that will help them to achieve those goals without kind of sacrificing, then
100%.
made that easy.
Honestly, yeah. And Allah will make it easy for you. Honestly, that's the most important thing, wallah. Allah will make it easy for you. If you start sacrificing Allah on the way, wallah, I always say, one time I put it on Instagram, I said, the way that I like to structure my workouts is after I pray a certain prayer. So it's usually maybe after Maghrib, I'll head to the gym, something like that. So when I'm during my workout, I'm not going to skip a prayer because I was in the middle of my workout. And I made a comment. I said, if you sacrifice Allah in the process of your weight loss journey, you might get to your goal and maybe your punishment might be that Allah will just make you fat again. Don't do that to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because I always say that when you sacrifice your deen for something, that something becomes your punishment. It really does. It really, really does. Don't do that to yourself. So I always say, if there are anyone that's listening out there who tends to take off their clothes for the sake of fitness, wallahi, you don't have to do that. You don't. You really don't. You don't have to do that. And you know what? You know, making that small sacrifice for the sake of Allah, I think a lot of people don't realize how many good deeds you can get out of being fit. No, it's so underestimated. You know, it's just a matter of changing your mindset and your intention, you know. And subhanAllah, you know, Allah is the most merciful and He accepts all deeds. Just change your mind.